Hey guys!
Hey guys.
We are back!
We are front. We're facing the camera, actually. This isn't the back of us.
Yes, but we're back here doing a podcast. We're not front here doing a podcast.
No, we ain't fronting. This is real deal. How you feel podcast speak. Right here, right now. You're on air with the Unuseful Idiots. We are grateful to be here. And really happy and excited to do is this our 6th episode already?
Yes.
Holy crap, how time flies. We're having
Numero 6.
fun. Número 6.
Sí.
Sí. En este episode, vamos a hablar en español. I don't know how to say episode in Spanish. Gotta look that one up. Anyway.
Episoda.
We got a lot to talk about. Hey, get me an episoda with extra ice. We got a lot to talk about, man. No hesitation here. We got to get right into stuff. But before we do, we want to give a quick plug. We've got a few reviews, all 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Please keep those coming. Give us a little review, a little typing, if you don't mind, or thumb, however you type on your mobile device or PC.
Yes,
maybe if you use your chin.
Pushing.
Some people type with their nose. If you're Jewish
button
like
mashing.
Me. What?
Button mashing.
Button mashing. That
Yeah.
sounds weird.
That's
butt mashing. I don't know.
Well, that's like what
was doing some button mashing earlier.
Like,
I don't mean the sexual kind.
That's like the video game thing. There's like people who can't play video games. They say they're button mashers. They just mash them. They just press all kinds of buttons and.
Yeah, that's like when you first play video game. When you get like a new video game system and you try and have your parents try and play with you. I guess that's what.
Yeah,
that
or when you play like Mortal Kombat type games.
Like, yeah, well, that sometimes works actually.
And you don't, but like, because those games have the finishing moves and
finishes.
And like, if you don't know how to do them, you just mash buttons and hope that
it does something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, yeah, go ahead. What?
Every now and then it works.
Well, exactly. Just like us. Every now and again, this works, and people actually listen and think it's interesting, the things that we're saying. So hopefully we're not mouth mashing too much.
Guess
Look
what?
at this.
We have a microphone.
We upgraded. We got upgraded. We're getting serious here, guys. You better watch out. We might have a full-on recording studio in our next episode. Probably not. But we did buy
That'll take a little while.
It might take a little while. We invested in a $20 microphone. So this isn't just any old...
Don't tell them how much it is. Make them think it's more expensive.
We invested in a very inexpensive microphone.
No. We want them to think it's expensive.
We invested in a microphone that records sound at a quality rate.
Okay.
I don't even know what that means. Anyway, so yeah, give us a plug, give us a shout out. We're giving ourselves a plug, but you can give us a shout out. Respond to us on social media. I hate social media, but you gotta use it. And
it's a necessary
evil for sure.
Maybe we don't want to say it's evil.
It's fucking evil, man. You can't get around it. It's just evil. No matter how you slice it. Ego feeding, bullshit, fucking promoting evil. But it is useful. And you gotta be, some people are idiots. So that's why we're the unuseful idiots. But sometimes we gotta be idiots that use useful stuff too.
Yes.
Well put, Noah.
You see this new meme going around, the NPC meme?
No, what does that stand for?
Non-playable character.
I don't know what this is. Now another thing.
So
you gotta.
So you know how in video games like Grand Theft Auto, there are the guys that are walking on the street.
Sure, the extras. Yeah, the background.
Yeah, so they're just on a loop.
Oh.
So that's what this meme is. It's a non-playable character. So when like someone's being an idiot and just regurgitating
Right.
stuff, they're people call them non-playable NPCs.
So hopefully we're the NPCs, the non-playable characters. Get it?
Yes, because that would mean we're playable characters.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because double negative cancels itself out.
I sure like playing with myself. What can I say?
That's disgusting.
Anyway, guys, let's get right into this. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. We got a new format. We're going to do some fun stuff. Try and give you a little bit more structured content here. And
we're evolving.
Yeah, I guess you gotta. That's what else can we do as human beings but evolve in this world and change with the times, adapt. I was gonna sing Freebird as like an intro song, but I feel like we're kind of a little bit past that. I like Freebird; it's a good song, and I want to be that way. I want to be a free bird. I want to fly away sometimes. Be nice to do that.
Okay.
Sad.
Alright. Sweet home Alabama.
Please keep going. This is your solo, baby. Keep it going.
Where the skies are so blue.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I've been transported.
Sweet home Alabama.
My goodness.
Lord, I'm coming home to you.
All right.
Sing it again.
That was incredible.
I don't know the word.
It sounded like you were pretty confident.
I know those words. I don't know the rest.
That's, I think, enough, though. I think we got the point. All right, so without further ado, should we talk about this really unfortunate event that just occurred?
Yes, so, I'm sure everyone listening has heard, but about a week and a half ago, Stanley died.
Yes. Very sad day for a lot of people, I would say.
I'd say pretty much everyone, because, maybe not everyone knew about him prior to, maybe 2008. But once, Iron Man came out, which kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think everyone knew who he was.
Right.
Because, I think it's combined, all the movies have made like $15 billion.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's that little with the amount of, I feel like it could even be more with how much.
Well, I think at first it was sort of not
catching on as much.
Yeah, it
but now it's like automatic box office or Netflix hit.
Yeah, I'm sure if you factored in, that's not factoring in the DVD sales and everything.
Action figures
box
and all
office.
Right.
Oh yeah, action
and
figures. The other probably like $100 billion.
That's true. It's generated an incredible amount of revenue. But that aside, yeah, Stan Lee certainly helped shape my childhood. I was a huge comic book fanatic growing up. You mentioned, I think most people, if not everybody, knows who he is and, would be affected somewhat by his death. Except there's one person who wasn't at all, actually. Isn't there?
Yes, Bill Maher.
Huh.
So apparently, earlier this week, Bill Maher decided to write a blog, which is on his site, his
Real
Bill
Time
Maher Show site.
The Real Time with Bill Maher blog.
Right.
It's called Adulting, is the name of the blog entry.
Well, the name of the blog entry called Adulting. And he didn't have very nice words to say about it.
He was not very careful or sensitive to the people who were, for whatever reason, and that's personal, affected by Stan Lee's death. So I think in that sense, he might have been a little wrong. But what he was referring to is he wasn't, and I think he clarified this on Larry King, which also was a clip that we you and I watched, where he kind of explained himself and said, no, it wasn't directed at Stan Lee. What he was talking about is the culture that is so enamored with fantasy and that it's become accepted for adults nowadays, not like it was, 50 years ago when comic books were really just for kids, that today comic books are for anybody, adults especially, and then it's just kind of perpetuating this, like, never needing to grow up, never needing to take responsibility, always living in a fantasy, utopian world, and so much so that now it's actually become mainstream enough that it's even brought into academia, where you can write a thesis paper on a comic book character, which is just interesting. But he was taking the point of view that this how could the world have come to this place where adults are still glamorizing and promoting comic book content. And I can't say that he's wrong. I think the point that he's making is very astute and spot on. I just don't think Stan Lee's death had really anything to do with that.
He shouldn't be bringing Stan Lee in.
It's not Stan Lee's fault. Stan Lee was a mastermind, genius, incredible businessman, prolific as hell, artist, really, and who just, he created a niche, a genre, and a world, really. And I know I'll be grateful for him because he certainly, so much fun has been, has been elicited as a result of his.
I mean, I was actually reading a couple of articles about Stan Lee's death and people reflecting on him, and it was, I never made the connections, but, they were talking about, like, Professor X, who, he's the guy the professor from the X-Men.
X-Men, yep.
Who, basically we know him, he's in a wheelchair the whole time.
Right.
He's a guy in a wheelchair. He's this brilliant guy who...
Also bald.
Yeah, but that's not really relevant.
It's relevant for my dad. He's bald. He hates being bald.
Well, so, anyway, like, he was the first disabled person who was portrayed in any light. It was in the 50s.
Absolutely. Super, super progressive, super forward-thinking. The idea that, a handicapped person could be a superhero.
Right.
That was completely a new concept back then.
And, I mean, like, what we saw, Black Panther, for example. Black Panther was created in, like, the 60s. And, there were no other black characters in pop culture.
But can we say that Stan Lee is the result of, is the cause of that?
Stan Lee created him.
It's a Stan Lee character, Black Panther? Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Well then, goddamn, you sure as hell is.
Stan Lee's the head of...
Right, so obviously, whether or not he is responsible for that specific comic book is kind of irrelevant because he oversaw the whole publication of Marvel Comics, and he allowed that to be a thing.
Right.
So that it is incredibly... that's incredible that he did that.
Yeah, and I mean, look at what happened when the movie came out.
Incredible.
Last February.
Yes.
Like,
a mass flocked.
People who would never see a comic book movie went to that movie because it was a black superhero.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think... See, I understand Bill Maher's point, but I don't think there's anything really wrong with... As long as we can delineate between what's fantasy and what's reality. He in his blog mentions the fact that, this is a culture that still believes in comic books and is the reason why someone like a cartoon president like Trump gets into office. And I would argue that most of the people that voted for Trump probably don't read comic books. And most of the people who read comic books, that I know at least, definitely didn't want to vote for Trump. They were completely, more liberal-minded people. I think comic books can do great things. I mean, the movies are awesome, and they help people tune out of the craziness of the world for a little while. But, there's also this narrative that comic books, and specifically the movies now, are being they're being funded by the government. And this is a conspiracy theory, but it does maybe lend some. It has maybe
that's going into Alex Jones territory there.
Well, you know what? I think we need to go there because we need to decide how we feel about this and help the listeners to maybe use their minds. Because one of the narratives is that the government is funding these movies and promoting comic book movies because of a future alien takeover that may or may not be orchestrated by the government.
That's reach.
I don't know. I mean, the truth is, a lot of these comic book movies do involve extraterrestrials. I mean, that's what they are. Thor he's living somewhere else up there.
Thor's a Norse god.
Yeah, exactly, right. So he's not even of this earth. He came down here just to be a
But
God.
Thor's Norse mythology. It's not like an alien.
Well, and that gets into a whole other topic, which we'll probably get into another episode. But right, what constitutes a god? Is that an extraterrestrial, or is that just some form of mythological being that we created with our own imagination? So that's a separate issue. But yeah, there is it's like what purpose are these comic books really serving in this day and age? Is it to help people continue this utopian, fantastical, storyline that they're creating in their head instead of dealing with reality? Or is it just kind of a way to tune out for a while and enjoy something that really is completely mindless and exciting and interesting? So, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about, because, Marvel and there are basically two categories of comics. It's Marvel and DC.
Hey, let's not forget Image, man, or Dark Horse.
Well, I mean, but
yes, I know, right?
Most people think of
that's
comics as. I mean, most people don't know the difference. But the people who do know the difference, DC has Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. And, Marvel has Captain America and Iron Man and
Spider-Man.
Thor and Spider-Man and
X-Men and Fantastic Four.
And the Hulk.
And Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Captain Marvel
and Black Panther and Iron Fist and Daredevil
and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. We could go on forever.
Punisher, Wolverine, but he's part of the X-Men. All right, I never read a damn comic book in my life. What are you talking about? No, I'm just kidding. I read a few. And I sold them all for drugs, ladies and gentlemen, for like $100. I had so many good comic books that were worth so much more. But that's what happens when you're a gosh darn addict and you need your next fix. You'll do whatever it takes.
Actually, talking about that, I heard someone say they were talking about Stan Lee and reflecting on him. And they were talking about how Spider-Man came to be.
Okay. Go on.
So Stan Lee had this idea for Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a teenage kid.
Yeah.
a scrawny
little
kid,
nerdy, yeah,
who gets bitten by a spider,
radioactive spider,
and turns into Spider-Man.
Yes.
And overnight, he turns into this buff dude who.
Well, I don't know that he was so buff, but he was able to handle himself.
Well, he was fit.
He was fit. That's a good way.
Let's say he became fit overnight.
Sure.
And then automatically be able to do all this stuff. So apparently, this was... Stan Lee didn't have quite the stature that he did in, like, the 70s, when he could do, like, pretty much whatever he wanted. But, so... Spider-Man's first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy. Amazing Fantasy.
Yeah.
Number 15.
Number 15, okay.
And that was the last issue of that comic.
Because then it took off as Amazing Spider-Man, right?
No.
Oh.
Because Amazing Fantasy was dying. So, like, they were ending it. And Stan Lee was like, I don't care what you guys say. I'm putting this guy in here.
Wow.
So, this afterthought of a superhero became,
maybe one of the biggest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, when most people think of Marvel Comics, they probably think of Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's pretty much the face out of Marvel, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, DC has Superman and...
Yeah, and Batman, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so... I mean...
There's a lesson in here, I think, is what you're getting at, that you just never know. You never know.
And also, I think it shows you the mind that Stan Lee had. He said, this is the guy who came up with the Fantastic Four, who was the first family of comic books.
Right. So clearly he had something going on that was...
Yeah.
He knew what the hell he was doing.
And like we said before, Professor X, the first disabled...
Yes. He was very ahead of his time. He was extremely imaginative and...
And he was willing...
to take risks.
With Spider-Man, you saw he was willing to take a risk.
Yes.
That, maybe it probably wouldn't have backfired because it was the last issue of that comic, but it shows that he doesn't really care.
Right, he didn't
really.
Well, that's the truth for life. I mean, we care more about the things that don't matter and less about the things that do. Which really, we got that backwards. We should care more about the things that do matter and less about the things that don't. And for him, I guess, in that position, it was like, well, what has he got to lose? You might as well take the risk. And I think that's a great way to live life, honestly. So there's a lot. I mean, this would be a good time if we had a listenership that people could call in. We could take some questions and some comments about this. But,
or you could email.
Yeah, exactly. We can always go to the next,
and we could answer at the end.
And the next episode we can go into responses and stuff. That's a good point, Tori. Thank you very much. But why don't we move into our next topic of discussion? What do you think?
Well, first, before.
Excuse me, young man.
I just want to bring up Stan Lee's. Maybe his best cameo ever was in Mallrats.
Okay, good point. I actually forgot about that.
Actually, I was Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Who's the director of Mallrats and
very
many
smart,
other movies.
Well, very talented
Chasing
guy.
Amy, Clerks, Jane Silent Bob, Garden State.
Wow, way to go with the Kevin Smith movies off the top of the dome.
I mean, he also did, Tusk and weird movies.
Keep going, baby. This is hot. You just spitting that out.
So he was saying that when he was making Mallrats, he had a friend who he was looking for someone to give a monologue, which, and his friend asked him, like, who would, because he wrote a monologue for a cameo, but he didn't have anyone
to fill it.
Right. So he wrote it before the person.
Sure.
So his friend said, who would be your ideal person to have? So Kevin Smith goes, because he's a big comic book guy and
huge. I know that. Yep.
So he goes, I'd love to have Stan Lee. So he said, why don't you get him? It's like, well, I don't know him. How am I going to get Stan Lee?
Right. Good question.
So his friend said, well, I don't know him, but I know someone who knows him.
6 degrees of separation. Where's the Kevin Bacon game when you need it?
Yeah. So he calls up, he gets in touch with Stanley. He sends over the script. He writes the script for Stanley. So Stanley, eventually gets back to him. He goes, I love it, but I can't say this. My wife would kill me. Because the whole, I don't know if you remember the scene, but it's basically, the whole movie is sort of about the guy trying to get his girlfriend back.
Oh, right. Yep, okay.
So
cocaine will do that to you. Just a lot of long-term memory.
So and his friend, his best friend, is sort of going through the same thing. Like he's sort of like the guy that Bill Maher was trying to describe. That he's sort of like he loves comics, but he's got nothing else going for him. Which is not most people today. Right. But so Stan Lee's role is, the monologue for Stan Lee was that he gives a speech about the one that got away. So Stan Lee goes, my wife would kill me. I married the one that got away. No, the one that would have gotten away. No one ever got away.
Wow.
So Kevin Smith was like, okay, I'll write in a scene that explains the whole thing. So the scene where, it's a 2-part cameo. He gives the monologue, and then he meets the guy, his friend, who, sort of, and then he explains what he said and told him that it's not true, and so I guess that sort of made up for, to explain to his wife that no one ever got away.
Well, that's good. He was a family first kind of guy. After all that, stand-up guy. Great. Thanks. Thanks for that little anecdote. That was a good story, Tori. All right. So moving right along, there was another article about Trump maybe actually being right about something. What?
Yeah. So we've over the last couple of weeks, we've heard a lot about these wildfires in California.
So devastating.
I think I forget what the reason, but the death total keeps climbing.
It's just crazy. Every day on my news feed, it's like more and more.
I think it's like up to close to 500 now, maybe.
Is that right? Well, I'm missing, I know, but I think it's only about 100 that are dead.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, tons of people that have been displaced, tons of people that are missing.
Dead.
Yes, it's climbing, so it might even get to 100, God forbid. But yeah, this is a crazy thing that's going on right now. But it seems as though Trump was kind of talking about it, not that the reason why we're having such devastation there might be because of the environmentalists not allowing us to cut down more trees that need to be cut down anyway.
Yeah, basically that there are, the forests are so dense and dense.
Well, here's the thing. Right off the bat, we gotta take into consideration the ulterior motive for Trump saying that. He's not saying that because he's trying to set the record straight. Maybe he is, but probably because he's trying to still promote his agenda, which is, we need to cut down more trees so that we can have more industry and that sort of thing.
Well,
right?
I think it's sort of that, like, a lot of Republicans the Republican talking point is sort of climate change doesn't necessarily exist.
Right, it's like this, right, exactly.
It's or it's more that the Democrats
use climate change as yes, and they use climate change as a narrative for us.
And because of our partisan politics, the Republicans automatically say climate change.
Right, they got to be against it. Right.
Yeah.
Which is BS because again, like everything else, there are no absolutes. And yes, there is climate change. No, it's not only because of us, the factories and the industrial farming and the methane gas from all the damn cows that are farting up a storm.
I mean, we've had tons of extinction events over the last like 100 million years.
Yeah, exactly. And there are animals that are going extinct every day, and it's for a variety of reasons. A lot of it has nothing to do with the environment. A lot of it's because of fucking, poaching and, people moving into houses.
Well, and it's also that, there have been multiple ice ages. So
yeah, we might be going through another naturally occurring global warming phase. Just like we go through a global cooling phase.
And maybe there probably is something to the fact that we're contributing it to it somehow.
We absolutely are. There's no way that we're not, because we've never had, in the last billions of years, factories that produce the smoke and release the toxins that they do, and again with the amount of cows, with factory farming and all that, and so yeah, it's definitely affecting it to a degree, but it just goes back to that whole bullshit, bipartisanship, where it's like, oh, we got to be one or the other, and you got to be on one side of the fence or the other, and it's like, why?
Right, and that's why I sort of side with the libertarians on a lot of things, because they're sort of, they see it as, they don't come down on any side.
Right.
Really.
A really good point that kind of touches on this a little bit. One of my friends brought up. He was talking about how there's so much contradiction in politics, and it's like, Republicans are more concerned with shrinking the government a lot. Like a lot of conservatives are, less government. Democrats, liberals want more government, more taxing, and more government spending and stuff. And that's fine. But that there's so many contradictions. But one in particular that was really poignant about big issues was that Democrats are pro-life but anti-guns, and Republicans are anti-abortion and pro-guns. which
Right.
seems completely
Right.
diametrically
Democrats
opposed.
are pro-choice, not pro-life.
What did I say? Oh, I'm
So-
sorry. That's exactly what I meant. Thank you. I was thinking of pro whatever,
Pro-choice.
choosing life if they want, or death if they want, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Yeah,
I've heard some people say that abortion should be legal up to 18 years old.
Well, here's the thing. It should be right, exactly. Oh, like how many? Right. Well, no. Here's the thing. Government shouldn't have any say. The way the country was founded, and they weren't. Those guys were not the best people. They were visionaries in a lot of ways.
But they did know that
government should not exactly right.
play a role.
This country was founded on separation of church and state. Right. That was one of the
separation of church and state. The First Amendment is free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press.
Yes, granting us these inalienable rights. Well, that sounds very much like church and state mixing when the government tells us what we can or can't do with our bodies based off of, religious rhetoric a lot, which is this pro-life kind of Christian narrative, which is fine, but it just shouldn't have to necessarily be imposed by the government. That should be something that, if an individual subscribes to a particular faith, that's something that's decided amongst their community, not something that the government can impose upon us, whether it's pro or against. So yeah, we kind of non sequitur there, but a lot of inconsistency in this country in this day and age.
Yeah, but I think
a lot of insanity.
But I think the point is that California officials agreed with Trump,
which is very interesting, right? To think of.
Yeah, I mean, California is known to be very democratic.
Yeah.
But also, it's very weird, the whole demographics, it's very blue around the big cities. So around Los Angeles and around San Francisco.
Which is where most of the people live, and it's the same in New York.
Right.
You drive 2 hours north.
But everywhere else, it's Republican.
It was same in here. Same in New York State, right? You drive New York City, extremely liberal. You drive 2 hours north, and you keep going, and even less than that, maybe an hour north of the city.
If you
see Trump picket. What do you call the things that they stick in the ground?
Picket sign.
That's a good idea.
Signs.
Right. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, even if you go out east on Long Island.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Go out an hour into Long Island and you get into Trump territory. So
you go right here on this couch, you get to Trump territory, motherfucker.
Right. So it's not really. It's just it's the cities that are making. And because the cities have the majority of the people,
that's
those
what goes.
states go that way.
Right.
So, I don't know if...
Which way do you go, Tori?
I don't know.
That's a good answer. Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Anyway.
So, I mean, I don't know exactly where these officials that came out with this statement are from, if they're from a Republican or a Democrat, but that's regardless of the point. The point is that, there's stuff we can do to reduce these wildfires and make them easier to
control,
extinguish
even better. Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't always line up with maybe what is considered the environmentally friendly green way to do things. But we're talking about our livelihood. We have to survive if we want.
And you should be able at all. And you should be able to cut down a tree that's dead.
Yeah, that's probably true. Just like mean,
make some good firewood.
That's what I'm talking about. When life gives you dead trees, what do? You make firewood.
Yeah.
That brings us into our next point, actually. It's interesting. A nice segue, separation of church and state. Female genital mutilation, otherwise known as FGM. What was that, Michigan? That the judge ruled that it was
I think
constitutional, basically?
It was unconstitutional to outlaw female genital.
Which basically says that it's constitutional to perform it because it's allowing people to practice their freedom of religion.
Right.
Because according to certain sects of the Muslim faith particularly, that's considered an acceptable practice. And there are doctors that have been requested to perform this procedure.
Right. And, I mean, listen, it does talk a little, it does get into that freedom of religion topic, but I don't think freedom of religion is meant that you can harm somebody and claim it's for religious purposes.
And the key is that it be against their will, right? And the thing about this is that it's happening to girls at an age which they are still in the custody of their parents, and they're the ones making the decisions for them.
Right.
Which is not fair because they're basically
right. It's not a 30-year-old that's deciding for religious purposes.
Exactly. This is being enacted upon them, which is
it's like 6-year-olds,
which actually removes their freedom. It actually removes their freedom of religion because what if they grow up to not be a part of that religion anymore and they want to go explore another one? Well, now they've already been permanently affected by one religion that has definitely removed their freedom.
Yeah, I mean, a good person on this is actually Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who is a Muslim woman who I think she was from Iraq, but so she moved here, and she's a victim or whatever. I don't know what the right word to describe it would be.
Sure.
But
contentious topic, of course.
She had female genital mutilation, and she speaks out against it. She still considers herself a Muslim.
Sure.
She still practices Islam.
As she should.
Right. If she thinks she obviously finds it to be helpful in some way that in her life.
Yeah.
And,
Tori's not a very religious man. Let's just say that. You're more of an agnostic, I would say, or an atheist.
I'm more agnostic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't care. Fuck it. Who cares?
God,
who's that? I don't give a shit. Right. It's not like I vehemently oppose this.
Yeah.
You just don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah,
it's not a fact. Yeah, and dude, that's a great way to be, I think. Just,
Yeah,
it's not,
the stuff that's out of your control, don't bother.
Look at
don't
this.
pay
Said from the man.
too much attention to it.
Exactly.
It's just...
It is what it is.
Focus on the things you can control and go there.
Mic drop. If we didn't just buy this brand new mic, we could have dropped it on the floor, and that would have been the end of the episode.
Well, let's drop this cover.
It doesn't have the same effect when you drop
not really
a non-functioning part of it.
Maybe a pen?
Well, you weren't writing anything. If
really.
You were writing this, and then you did a pen drop, that's like, boom, I don't even need to write anymore. It's still not as believable because I know you were just faking it.
They don't know that, though.
Oh, you're right. I keep forgetting that. Okay. I have to put myself in the listener's position a little bit more. I guess. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I have the utmost respect for people that kind of go out on a real limb, and condemn certain practices and still maintain a certain belief system that may not be fully accepted by some of the more extreme believers of that particular faith.
Right, and I mean, I think it's a great. She's a great person to look at when you're trying to show an example of someone who is a Muslim, but is not one of these Muslims who believe in some of the more extreme versions of the religion.
And we don't even have to say, because we're not trying to single out any one religious system or practice. Well, we can say the same thing about the Mormon Church, right? There's the fundamentalist Mormon Church. Of course, absolutely. As two Jews are sitting right here talking to you right now, there's extreme forms of Judaism which practice things that are, to me, completely unacceptable, But that's, what it is, and it's about how you interpret it. I believe in cafeteria-style religion, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. Take what you need and leave the rest. Take what works for you. It doesn't have to be an absolute thing. The Mormon Church has the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, and they're the ones that are doing all kinds of silly stuff under the leadership of Warren Jeffs. And, some people think he's a brilliant savior, and other people think he's the devil incarnate. So it's really just about where you're at, and there's moderation in this world.
Well, the Mormon religion is based off a guy that thought a 14-year-old who said he got these golden tablets from God.
But who are we to say that he didn't? Book of Mormon is a funny show, but the truth is like there's a lot of people who are subscribing to that, and it's a pretty popular religion, especially in the United States.
I mean, listen, as long as you're not hurting anyone,
I believe
do what you want. You can live. You can subscribe to any religion you want.
I was reading about this religion called Summum, and I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I'm considering joining, actually. It's like a mixture of like Greek philosophy with ancient Egyptian spirituality and practices with modern Christianity, or Gnostic Christianity. So kind of more the essential, purest form of Christianity from back in the day.
So Judaism.
It's kind of, but it's very exactly. It's kind of like an alternative Judaism, but it's not. They do believe in kind of the Old Testament stuff, Moses and all that,
which is Judaism.
Yeah, exactly. But it's called Summum, and it's very interesting because they talk a lot about aliens. And me, I'm no one to judge anybody else in their religious beliefs, because I certainly subscribe wholeheartedly to the fact that there are extraterrestrials. And, I think every major religion discusses that anyway, with their idea of gods and angels and spirits and beings. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, sure, Kabbalistic Judaism especially, even Christianity.
Wait, did they make shoes? Is that what they... Kabbalistic? Is that like...
because they're cobblers? Oh, that's a good one! Where's the sound effects? We need a fucking sound effects machine. Because that was like, bam! Right on the fucking money, Tori. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you gotta be more often. You gotta be like dropping them bombs on these dudes and dudettes. Like a funk... Oh, we need Funkmaster Flex. Just so that we can have that one explosion button that we can keep pressing. Like... I don't understand. That guy's been spinning.
No, I have the Flavor Flav button go. Yeah,
boy! Flavor Flav! No, you've listened to Hot 97. I'm sure a lot of you guys have too. Funkmaster Flex plays the explosion sound effect. He's been doing it for 20 years or more. every night that he DJs, it's just. I'm like, how has he not updated his sound effects in 20 plus years?
It still works.
It does not for me. I get it. You know, it's like, okay, this is going to be a good song. I get it. You're talking about something very important now. It's time to blow everything up.
It's his trademark.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you got a brand, which we're trying to get to.
If he got something else, people would be like,
right.
What?
If it was like all of a sudden like dueling banjos, people would be
Deliverance theme?
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, what the hell? Yo, this is the real fresh new music coming at you live, Hot 97.
Yeah, that wouldn't really work. That
Versus
like,
Hot 97, music for the streets. It sounds better than Hot 97, fresh new music from 50 Cent. All right, so you know what? It's all good fun. This is a time of our show now, guys, where we do we give you a few different stories of things that amused us in the news over the past week or so. To start us off, we have a story coming from the, what does that again stand for?
the Health and Human Services
Yes.
of the United States.
Okay, and what happened with the HHS?
So the head of the HHS committed suicide, or died.
Okay, period.
And it was ruled a suicide.
Period. Comma.
Now, however,
Gotta beware of those punctuation marks. Comma.
he has multiple stab wounds.
No, it said multiple blunt force wounds.
Isn't that the same?
No, I think a blunt force means that he was fucking smashed, maybe
With
even
a
the head
blunt?
with it. Yeah, he was smoking weed and got too high and started hitting himself with the blunt. No, I think blunt force trauma, like to the head, like beaten with a bat or something heavy. It's not good.
But,
you don't do that when you try and kill yourself, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, unless you're really sick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're gonna... most people when they kill themselves, they either shoot themselves or they do something that's really quick.
It's a hard topic to discuss, but yes, you're right. It's more of a...
I don't think multiple blunt force injuries is a quick death.
Right, not again, unless you're someone who likes to perform genital mutilation on yourself. Mutation. I'm transforming my genitals by myself. That's my superpower. Why didn't they come up with a Marvel character that did that?
Exactly.
That would have been really like a way to go out. Stan Lee.
That would have been really progressive if they had a woman who can
instantly change genders.
Change into a man and then back into a woman.
You know what? I think we are onto something here. We might have to do a little offshore of the Unuseful Idiots and create a comic book character. He, she, man.
No, that's
no, like
that's
He-Man.
A bad name.
No, it's like a play on He-Man.
Yeah, but that's
he, her, man. He, her, man. That's better.
No.
He dash her dash man dash woman.
They man.
Well, that's like getting back into the theybies.
Exactly.
Theybies man or woman. Theybies man woman.
Babies are babies.
Baby, they be woman man.
So,
all right. Anyway, we're having fun. Next. So clearly that guy didn't die the way he was said to, and he was ruled that death was ruled officially by the medical examiner of Washington D.C. So you wonder, like, who are these people? Yeah, what's going on, and who are these people, and what are they getting paid to fucking lie about shit like that?
Yeah, I mean that goes back to Seth Rich,
Yeah, of course, guy that was killed, and they said, "Oh my God, such bullshit."
Killed at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and it was ruled a mugging, but he still had his wallet on him.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is, I think we should change our show to "Fuck Politics."
Yeah,
that's actually a kind of good idea, right? Fuck I don't know. We're gonna argue about that offline. But what do we got next, Tori?
So our next weird, funny topic is that NASA, which has been working with Elon Musk's company SpaceX, is sort of having some hesitations, maybe?
Well, it's understandable. I mean, the guy smokes marijuana cigarettes.
So,
Reefer madness!
So apparently, Elon Musk, who...
Brilliant
famous, man. Yeah, he's a brilliant man. A lot of people think that he should be able to run for president, even though he's not eligible because he's not American.
I understand.
But, so, that's not the point, though. The point is, Elon Musk went on the Joe Rogan show about a month ago, maybe 2 months.
Yeah, about that. A month or two.
And, he's lit up. He's smoked some marijuana.
Which I think was pretty fucking cool that he did that on a fucking recorded, live action and audio recorded segment. I think that's pretty cool.
Exactly. I mean, but all of a sudden NASA wants to look into the safety of these rockets.
Because the guy that's in charge has smoked weed!
But what was different that they weren't looking into the safety, or they ruled it safe before he smoked marijuana, and then all of a sudden after he smoked marijuana they said, oh, no, it's not safe anymore. We have to do some more inspection.
I mean, honestly, I would say if anybody at all that's part of the SpaceX team or anybody affiliated with NASA in any way has ever consumed alcoholic beverages within 48 hours of working, they should also question their own safety internally because...
Forget alcohol, Ambien.
Any prescribed medication. Yeah, exactly. What the fuck is a little weed?
Opioids.
Who cares, right? You could be prescribed it or not. Drugs affect people that are in a lot worse ways than weed ever has.
Exactly. Don't buy into William Randolph Hearst's propaganda.
Well, anti-propaganda zone right here, baby. Finally, we got one more interesting, weird, funny stuff segment topic.
So the British decided to ban...
Just be careful. It's a British school.
Yes.
A school in Britain.
School district or a school, I'm not really sure. It's probably a district. Decided to ban Canada Goose jackets.
To prevent poverty shaming.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, what the fuck?
Well, I kind of get it. I mean, when I walk down the street and I'm wearing my, $200 coat or something like that, I mean, men's clothing does cost a lot. Let's not beat around the bush there.
As much as women's.
That's the point I'm making. But then, I see a guy walking down the street and he's got his Canada Goose, and I'm like, man, I feel kind of... the hell, I'd rather be cold and not wear anything and just next to this bozo that's got his nice ass jacket on. So, the point is, it's a very strange thing to make it into the news because it's a strange thing to be told, you're no longer allowed to wear that expensive coat, young man, because you might make people feel bad. Even though I might be in that category.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the point is that, you shouldn't not allow someone to wear any kind of clothing because other people may feel bad. Why don't the parents of the poor students or someone tell them, if this is what you want, apply yourself. And
good old Tory, man. bring it back to reality.
Find a way to make enough money so you can have those things.
Immediate gratification is a bitch, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, it's all in the patience. I
thought of one more thing that was kind of sad and kind of funny. So, I think yesterday or something, a report came out of this American guy who was shot and killed with a bow and arrow by a tribe on the Sentinel Islands, which is a remote island off India.
Right, I heard about that.
Which was basically untouched.
Uncontacted tribe. Yeah.
Uncontacted tribe. So they see some strange guy walking up.
And it's not the first time it's happened, actually.
Yeah, so I think, what the hell was he doing there?
Very good.
Don't go there.
That's a simple fix,
Exactly.
Too bad that guy had to be, used as the example, though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So condolences go out.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but lesson learned.
Lesson learned, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Put it right there. Lesson freaking learned. All right. You know what? I think that's about all the time we have for this episode. We want to say thank you so much for listening. I think we had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of good ground. We want to just remind you guys, first of all, say thank you so much because we've been getting great responses from you guys. Please continue to give us feedback, comments, questions. We're very approachable. Just go right ahead, and we'll try and address whatever the issue is or the concern or comment you might have. And we're grateful that you're listening.
Yeah, so thanks what Noah said. Thanks to everyone that's given us a good review and subscribed to all our stuff and liked us on Facebook. But, so we just want to remind everyone that hasn't or any new listeners to comment, rate, and subscribe to the podcast on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen. We're also on YouTube now. You can watch our ugly faces.
Well, your face is beautiful. My face is ugly, so ugly face.
Yeah, okay. You can also send in questions, comments, whatever, to our email, theunusefulidiots@gmail.com. Again, like us on Facebook if you haven't. Like us on Twitter.
Just like us, guys, because we really need your validation and your acceptance. We want to know that you care, because we don't care about ourselves. We actually care about ourselves way too much, which is why we need your validation. Get it? Got it? Good.
So, we also have a Patreon page.
Oh, here comes the money. Tori's saving it till the end.
We're trying to build this thing into something big. We got a mic.
Moving right along.
One mic. We'd like to upgrade other things. Maybe the video, whatever, the sound effects.
We want to be able to get some cool guests to come on. We need some stipends to be able to hand out for people traveling, which is all possible. And with your contributions, it'll be a lot easier and help.
In the near future, we're going to be adding some tiers onto Patreon.
Some incentive programs.
Some incentives that,
We'll tell them. They'll see when
you'll see.
We'll see.
You'll see on the Patreon
page. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We love y'all. Remember, peace, love. That's all. That's all that matters is peace and love.
Yeah.
Right? Peace and love. That's devil. That's love.
That's.
I love you.
That's more. Oh, what?
Just be yourselves. Be unuseful idiots. This is Tori and Noah signing off.
Peace.